Is this your first ever digital marketing job? Do you feel like you've been flung to the wolves and you feel like you have to do all these different activities? Google ads, Meta ads, Instagram ads, SEO, email marketing, and you're like one of the only people at your company, and there's pressure on you to succeed. You don't want to lose this job. You want to do a good job. You want to succeed for your boss, for everyone involved. But it just feels like you're the one who's given all this responsibility, and no one's teaching you how to run an effective Meta ad campaign or Google ad campaign. And you're somehow supposed to figure all this out on your own and succeed. What do you do? Well, if you feel like this video is for you, I'm making this video because this is actually something that I've encountered when I've done coaching sessions with people who have reached out to me for help seeing my videos. So yeah, I do free coaching sessions. Yeah, you could join my email newsletter down below, link in the description. It's just something I give back to my community for people who are aspiring in the digital marketing and data analytics field. If you don't know who I am, my name is Will Chow. I have lived almost 9 years now in the world of digital marketing and data analytics. For the first 5 years, I worked full time at an agency, a high performance marketing agency that went from small to one of the best ones on the East Coast, helping with all those things I mentioned in terms of marketing activities. Then from there, I moved on to another firm and leveled up my income, my job title to a point where now I'm a senior digital marketing data analytics analyst for another agency, and it's almost been 9 years of working in the professional world. So I want to kind of help people out because I found this is a pretty common issue, and I prepared a short but effective slide presentation to help answer this question. Obviously, I can't go as in depth as I can with like a full-on coaching call of some sort, but I really do think that this will nonetheless be very valuable and give you some high-level effective thoughts. So when you're flung to the wolves with your first marketing job, now this typically happens when you get that marketing job, and first off, props to you, pat yourself on the back because now you've gotten through the sometimes the toughest part, which is to get your foot in the door in marketing. Once you get that first job, you can put that on your resume. Now you have experience, which is, the big chicken or egg problem. How do you get experience if you don't have it when everyone's looking for experience? So realize you're in a good spot, but this typically happens when you're working for some in-house company, so not an agency, or sometimes it can be an agency, but it's like a new agency or an agency that's just started or not too familiar with the digital world and more focused on selling other activities. I've had that happen where, they're just not familiar with digital. They're more familiar with traditional marketing and they want to expand into this territory. And you're one of the first people they've taken a risk on and taken a chance on. And so they've hired you, but they don't know what they're doing. You don't know what you're doing. And now you're running a budget on Facebook ads, and you don't want to waste this client's money. So what do you do? So I think first thing is some stress is good, but don't over worry. I think if you didn't have any anxiety or worry, that might be a red flag because that means you don't really care about this role and doing a good job. But from someone who's constantly an overthinker and neurotic and tends to over worry, there's a point where it just becomes counterproductive. I think having some level of that is healthy. It's normal. You're in an unfamiliar environment. You want to do a good job, but realize use that to fuel you. But then anytime it just starts, having you feel like you're counterproductive or it's too stressful, let it go. It's fine. Worst case situation, you don't perform. That's fine. You did your best job. You can still, when you do the right work, which I'll lay out, you'll be able to create experiences and stuff you can still add and pad to your portfolio that will be effective for getting another job. But ideally, you want to knock it out of the park. That's really how you can really level up in your career. But it doesn't always happen. So don't stress so much that it becomes counterproductive. Okay, so choose low-hanging fruit, high-impact opportunities. Every marketing channel, every marketing activity has some of these opportunities in it. And especially when you're some type of jack of all trades, where you're someone who's expected to manage email marketing and then Google Ads and then all this stuff, SEO at once, your time is very much split and you have limited time. Unlike an in-house specialist who all their job is to do is manage one ad platform, you're kind of doing all this stuff. And similar to an agency role, you may only have 3 or 5 hours a week for this one activity before you have to switch gears to do some other form of marketing. So because your time's so limited, you're not trying to build out this long, comprehensive action plan where you're going to completely overhaul the SEO of a website. Your first initiative should be to identify low-hanging fruit, high-impact opportunities. So let me give you an example. Let's say you have 5 hours a week to work on SEO because you're also juggling email marketing and all this other stuff. Ask yourself and Google and look at the top SEO experts. They're all on the web. Many of them will post the best secrets for free online because it helps them build a following. So Neil Patel is a great one. Brian Dean from backlinko.com is another one. There's also tons and tons of websites and YouTube channels about it. There's searchengineland.com and so many experts. But if you Google it, if you YouTube search it, you will find articles and content that will tell you, here are the top low-hanging fruit, high-impact opportunities. You take these opportunities, you pick the best 5 or best 3, whatever that you can handle that are relevant to your company and website. You present those as the plan. You're aligned with the client on the goal or your boss. You work towards them. You show your progress, and then you track your results. With SEO, it might be like fix 4 broken page errors. Fix your broken sitemap and resubmit it to Google Search Console. Eliminate duplicate page titles and meta descriptions. Eliminate missing page titles and meta descriptions. These are very common SEO audit items that are low-hanging fruit and higher impact. And then there's other ones too. There's something called like a tipping point keyword where the page ranks on position 11 on Google. So if you could just get it to rank 2 or 3 more positions higher, now you're on the first page and you get a lot more traffic. So then you just SEO optimize pages that are tipping point keyword pages. So there's various different tactics you can use. And with the limited time, you just choose some of the most impactful. It's still a good game plan. And you can also reiterate to your boss, to your clients, whatever, hey, we are on this small project. If you want a higher comprehensive SEO plan, I would need more time, but because we can't, this is what we can do. That way you also set solid expectations with everyone involved. They'll usually understand, they'll be like, oh, that makes sense. This guy has very limited time. We're only paying for that limited time. Of course, we're going to, have realistic expectations for that. Thereby, you also have been able to use your soft skills, your communication effectively to set expectations in a way where they're less likely to be upset in the long run. In fact, they're probably going to be happy and they'll be aware of your impact given your limited time. So to kind of go into more detail and recap, you have to make the most of your resources, which is usually your time. Every marketing activity, whether that's email marketing or SEO, has these high impact, low effort opportunities. There's minutia you can worry about for email marketing, and then there's high impact stuff. For example, the minutia might be like the font style that you're quibbling about for each email. A higher impact opportunity may literally just be testing different subject lines to get a much higher open rate. One's going to lead to a lot more traffic and views, which could lead to more sales. The other one, does the font size really matter that much? Probably not. It's not going to change much. Another thing is cleanliness and organization. I think this is one of the most overlooked, underrated things that you can do. A clean strategy with a clean plan, goals, tracking, and reporting leads to a much easier life. And this is something that, unfortunately, I've seen a lot of organizations, clients, they just don't have this. Everything's a mess. Everything's like a chicken with their head cut off, with 10 other chickens in a hen coop. And it's a mess because they're so busy, they're throwing things out there. And the more disorganized it is, the more confusing it's going to be for everyone. And so what I mean by cleanliness in organization is not just one piece, but strategy, plan, goals, tracking, reporting. So let me give you an example. Most people, they never sit down, the leadership never sits down and really, and this should be a recurring activity, at least like twice a year, if not once a year. But you got to sit down, you got to ask yourself, what are our goals? Be frank, be honest, And it's usually like, okay, we want to make more money. Okay, well, now you've created that as a signpost. So make that very clear as your qualitative departmental goal. And then from there, have very clear, specific KPIs that measure that. Do you have quantifiable metrics that speak to that? I'd like to keep it under 5. If you could keep it to even just one big metric, that's even better. Another example of this organization is they'll have like a report or dashboard with like 67 metrics on it. Why do they have so many? Because these analytics platforms offer so many choices. So then they just add them all, and then it's a huge mess. And you're looking at these numbers and you don't know what's more important than another. And it's just like a huge mess and it's confusing. So you can be very clear on your goals, your plan, the metrics you want to track, and then you set up tracking so it's clear and organized, and you name everything in Google Tag Manager with the tracking and all that stuff, so it's very good. Then easy life, easy wife, easy job in essence. So the cleaner you start, the cleaner you end. And I think it's also something to be said about this idea of less is more. You don't need 47 metrics in your report. Sometimes you need maybe one metric and then several to tell the story about why that metric's trending in a good or bad direction, but you don't need that many to really kill the game in essence. And think about the peace of mind you have knowing that, hey, our goal is to get more revenue, for example, and I have like 8 metrics I look at, and that tells a story, that tells me how to do things better or worse, and that just makes it much easier. So yeah, for each of these channels you're working on, set something that's attainable but simple, that your boss, everyone is happy with, that you can measure your success towards. Maybe for email marketing, it's okay, how many people are we driving to the site every month? How can we increase that? How can we decrease that? And then you'll have some supporting metrics underneath that to tell that story. Maybe the click-through rate, the open rate. And then, if certain metrics aren't trending in the right direction, you can always tweak. You can work on better subject lines if the open rate's starting to decline, for example. And this works for every marketing channel, whether that's PPC or even starting a YouTube channel. Let's say you're not getting enough views, then that's usually a byproduct of your click-through rate or watch time. And then from there, you can either work on your thumbnails for a better click-through rate, work on your titles, or if it's your watch time, you got to work on better video editing or ways of keeping the audience engaged. So it works for everything. You got to define what those metrics are. And then with that, you can really start to pivot and drill down on what you can fix to work on those metrics. You don't need to be an expert at everything. I think that's a common misunderstanding. How on earth would you expect to when you're literally juggling like multiple different marketing channels? In fact, as an organization gets larger, they usually will hire one person full-time as a specialist just to work on one thing. Like you're the guy who just does Instagram ads and nothing else. So you're the guy who just does SEO and you're an SEO specialist. Now, for smaller startup companies, that typically doesn't happen. But can you still make the most out of a lot of things? Yeah, yeah. And you may even be able to make the case when you start to see one channel pop off to dial back your time on other channels to work on that one. And almost like turn yourself into a specialist, but not just for your own benefit, but also for the companies. You know, if you're throwing a few of your rocks in all these channels, and then one channel's returning you a lot more money, then that's the one that they would want you to double down on. You don't want to be wasting all your time on these other things that aren't returning that money. So just keep that in mind, Pareto principle. But when you're starting out and you haven't figured that out yet, just realize you don't have to be an expert, and it's okay if you're not an expert. So I think some people get super concerned, so they spend hours trying to become an expert at all these things. But there's really just not enough time in the day to become a PPC expert and an SEO expert in all these things. And you don't have to. That's the big thing. You don't have to become that. In fact, a lot of marketing managers and leaders, that's really what they do. They're like slightly to moderately decent at a bunch of these different marketing channels. And then they're really good at one. So they call it a T-shaped marketer because it resembles a T. You're like an inch deep in a lot of these, and then you're real deep in one. And that's enough because you know enough about each to be able to talk about them. And then if some of the numbers aren't looking right, you don't necessarily have to know all the details as to why. This marketing manager usually has a team below them to delegate things to and say, hey, this is not looking right, fix it or work on it, or reallocate the campaign budgets or whatever it is. So with that in mind, with that knowledge and new mindset, you can start to plan out how you're going to self-educate yourself. So of course, like I mentioned, go to all those resources, those websites, those YouTube channels to better yourself. Because in terms of digital marketing, a bulk of the information is out there on the web. There are certain things that are hard to teach unless you're actually working with clients and you get that experience. But a lot of the theory, at least, is available online. So it's like right there for you for free. Like you don't have to buy a course for it. Sometimes it could help to buy a course. It will get you that info and just what you need faster. But typically, that's what you want to do. And with that mindset, I would recommend essentially optimizing based off of that. That means just reading enough about SEO. You don't have to go pages deep. And then find that one channel where you do want to become known as great at, or the one that you just naturally is more of your strength. And that's the one in that T-shaped marketer thing that you can double down on. So that's it. Subscribe for more free tips like this. Leave a comment if you have a request for a video topic, and then join my free email newsletter where you will get free coaching calls. I do them one-off on a fairly regular basis to my email subscribers, and helped a lot of people with their marketing jobs and excel in that marketing job. In fact, this video is literally because of one of those students. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.